Hi there! Today we are going to look at how to answer speaking question 1 on a TOEFL exam. The scorers are looking for a variety of things when they're marking your test, but the most important part is to speak clearly and have a complete answer. Judges aren't going to be looking for a topic, beginning, body, and conclusion like they would when they're grading your writing pieces, but they will be looking to make sure you have complete, cohesive answers that will satisfy the rubric. The specific areas that they will be listening for is the general description, delivery, language use, and topic development. To score a 4 on general description, you must fulfill all the demands of the task and speak with minor lapses and incompleteness. A well-paced flow of speech, or not talking too fast or too slow, is a massive factor in scoring a 4 on delivery. You can still score a 4 with slight pronunciation or intonation errors as long as they don't sacrifice the overall intelligence of conversation. To score a 4 on language use, you want to demonstrate effective use of grammar and vocabulary. This doesn't mean to use overcomplicated, complex words during your entire answer. Use these words as needed, but it's more important to have automaticity in your grammar and vocabulary so your answer flows smoothly. The last place to earn a 4 is topic development. With some thought, this is fairly easy to do. You just want to make sure you stay on topic. Do this by making sure your answer is developed and the relationships between ideas are clear. You can also do this by transitional devices, such as the words and, furthermore, in addition to, also, and many more that you can easily find online. When you're ending your thought, it can be a good idea to say finally when you conclude, but as mentioned before, a conclusion isn't necessary in speaking as it is in writing. For speaking question 1, it will likely be a question about something you are familiar with. They may ask, what is your favorite of something? For example, what is your favorite book? Why? Or what you like or dislike to describe something, or ask if you agree or disagree with something, such as, the school library is thinking about opening a coffee cafe. Describe the advantages and disadvantages. Having a question you're familiar with can be a really great thing as long as you don't overthink it. You will have 1 minute total. 15 seconds is to prepare and 45 seconds to state your answer. Let's start with what you should do during your first 15 seconds. 15 seconds may not seem like a lot of time to plan your answer, but let's remember that it is a topic that you are familiar with. When you get the question, jot down your quick answer and reasons to support the answer. We always recommend giving at least 2 reasons to support your answer. This is because it's a cohesive thought, and one answer may not prove your point enough. After you've written these things down, it will be easy to talk around them. Do not try to write down full sentences or thought. You will end up wasting your time and it will be too confusing. Let's look at an example question for speaking test 1. Who would you like to go on a trip abroad with? Describe this person and say why he or she would be a good travel partner. Right off the bat, you have 3 things you need to state in your answer. You need to, number 1, answer who you'd like to go abroad with. Number 2, describe this person. Number 3, explain why he or she would make a good travel partner. With 15 seconds on your piece of paper, I would write the person's name, the word describe, and one of the reasons they would make a good travel partner. Now you just have to explain everything you wrote. Make sure you're speaking in full sentences to ensure that number 1, you take up time, and number 2, to make sure all your thoughts are coherent. Here is an example response. If I could travel abroad with anyone, I would choose my husband, Joe. I would describe Joe as adventurous and smart. I would like to travel with him because I've traveled with him in the past, so I know we make a good team and get along really well. On our last trip, we ate the same foods, and we both really like trying new things when we're abroad or in a new place. We also both really like doing the same things. On our last trip, we had a lot of fun together going on a boat ride, swimming in the pool, and going to a local club where we could spend the night dancing. Another reason I would travel with Joe is because he's very good with directions. I'm very bad with directions and always get lost, so I'd like to travel with someone who can figure out where they are going. Finally, I would like to travel with Joe because he's good with money. Sometimes when I'm on a trip, I blow all my money and end up in debt after I am finished traveling. I'd like to travel abroad with Joe because he would manage our money to make sure we spend safely. Going back to the example response, you can see that I would score a 4. My answer is completely thought out and is rounded to make a coherent response. I answered all 3 parts of the questions. Naming the person I'd like to travel with, I chose Joe. Describing them, I described him as adventurous and smart, and I listed many reasons for choosing him as my travel partner. We traveled together in the past, and I described that showed we liked the same things and the same foods. Another reason I named him is because he is good with directions, and I elaborated on why I need to travel with someone who is good with directions. And finally, I named a reason that can manage our money, and I explained how I am not a good money manager. There are really no follow-up questions anyone would need to ask. I've completely explained and answered it all. I also use basic vocabulary, but I use some words that show a higher level of thinking, such as debt, manage, and local. There are more abstract words that show your capabilities as an English speaker. While you will likely get a question that you're able to answer easily, let's pretend that you don't want to travel abroad with anyone or you don't know anyone who likes to travel. In this instance, you're just going to have to make something up. Some TOEFL students report it being easier to make up an answer rather than to state the truth. That would be for you to decide, but I can tell you that the graders are not concerned with whether the answer you give is true or false. They only care that you are able to articulate it. There are a few study tips to keep in mind as you are studying for your speaking test. One of the most important ones is to not memorize your answers to study questions you find online. You don't want to sound like a robot when you're giving your answers, and you also don't want to stumble or become flustered if you forget where you are in your speech. Remember, the judges aren't looking for a speech, they're looking for a conversational tone of voice. Also, it would be really helpful for you to practice describing things or routines to get practice speaking English about random subjects. For example, try explaining in English what you did yesterday or what you will do tomorrow. Or look at pictures and find different ways to talk or tell stories about them for 45 seconds each time. Lastly, it is important to speak with a native English speaker if you can. By practicing your English with a native speaker, you will get an opportunity for them to correct you and also for you to hear the natural intonation and pronunciations of words you may not be sure of. Keep practicing and studying and using the resources found on bestmytest.com, and I'm confident you'll do great.